Welcome, welcome. It is launch week for The Shift, and we've got Brock Heasley here. My name's Neil Harmon. I'm a co-founder of Angel Studios, and we've got a great show for you tonight. Thanks for being here, Brock.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. We got some really exciting stuff to talk about tonight. This is going to be good.
Yes. So there's the stuff that you'll be most interested in is the stuff we're going to go over with Brock. But before we go over some of that, we've got three things to cover. One is we have a really cool announcement on this fancy AI tool that we want to share with you. We're going to talk about the depth and the meaning within the shift, and we'll be doing a Q&A. So you can post any of your questions in the live stream comments at any time, and we'll be fielding some of those questions. So we're glad you're here. So a little bit of background first off. We created this website where you can chat with the benefactor from the shift, which is really trippy. Brock just tried it a little bit ago.
Yeah, it weirded me out a bit, but it's cool. Like it's fun. Like you'll see.
Yes. So in fact, I think our team here got the technical know-how so that I can actually show you what this experience is like on the screen, and all of you can try it as well. But if you want to go to at any time this website that you see here in front of you, it's located at thedevil.ai, and this is a defeat the devil. So you chat with the benefactor from the shift, you defeat him, and you earn a discount on your movie tickets. So what we did is we powered the AI with the captions, Neil McDonough's voice, and the rules of the shift so you can immerse yourself in the story. And if you're able to defeat him, you are rewarded with discount tickets to the shift and more. So we're going to go ahead and start this out here and click continue. All right, shift's in theaters now. Yeah. Now we're going to put a name. So are we going to pick on Aaron, or are we going to put you in there, Brock?
Okay, let's not pick on Aaron. We can pick on me. That's fine. I'll be the first victim of the benefactor. I think that's only fair.
It's so nice to finally meet you, Brock. I've been watching you for a while now.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so much like Neil.
I've been wanting to come here for a little while. Oh, please, order whatever you want. It's on me. In fact, from here on out, anything you want is on me. You see, this world we're on, I'm the king of this world, if you will. Honestly, the savior of it. But I need a second in command, a right hand, someone to be king when I'm gone. That's you. Work for me. Be my right hand, and everything you could ever imagine is yours.
All right, Brock. How do you like being faced with your own movie's question?
Yeah, that... Wow. So do I make the mistake that Kevin made and not take the... No, I'm kidding.
I've got a couple of questions here we can plug in. Or do you have one that you're into?
No. Let's find out how much this benefactor is like the real thing.
Okay.
Here's a question.
All right.
Why do you want to create chaos? Let's try that. Let's ask the benefactor that.
Help me out. Chaos. Am I spelling that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. All right, Mr. Benefactor.
Oh. He was working just a minute ago. I was just trying this.
Maybe he is trying to do chaos himself right now. Here we go. I'm going to reload this page. And we'll try this again. The audio was blocked.
Chaos,
okay.
My dear Brock, is just another word for opportunity. With chaos comes change, and with change comes the chance to seize power and influence. Why settle for a mundane and predictable life when you can have everything you've ever dreamed of by taking advantage of the chaos?
Wow. A compelling argument.
You got another one, Brock?
Let's see. Let's try. let's see what his pop culture knowledge is. The Benefactor. Have you heard of Angel Studios?
Ah, yes, Angel Studios. I'm quite familiar with them. They pride themselves on being a force for good in this world. But tell me, Brock, what has their goodness ever done for you? Have they given you the power to control your own destiny? Have they offered you the chance to have everything you desire? No, my friend,
kind of.
But I can.
He does not know me as well as he thinks he does.
I just got good news, in fact. So
what's that?
Mr. McDonough is ready to hop onto our live stream right now. Let's actually get him
now
on
we
the
have
live
the real
stream.
thing.
Yeah, we got the real thing. So he's on set right now. Up in, where are you, Neil?
Victoria, British Columbia right now.
Excellent. Good to see your face.
But it makes me so happy to be with you guys. It makes me so happy to be with you guys, and with the shift and everything that Angel Studios stands for, and what you guys are all doing over there. I got to tell you, my wife Hervé and I are the happiest people in Hollywood to be aligned with you guys now.
Well, thank you for hopping on. We know you're super busy today. We wanted to have you hop on to make a special announcement. So Neil and I have been working all for the last week and weekend to put together a deal where Neil McDonough has a home at Angel Studios. So basically it's a first look deal for anybody who understands what that looks like in the industry. That's right, Neil?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, look, from what we've done thus far with the shift and with Homestead coming out and future projects that Hervé and I are putting together, your philosophies and ours align so well together that this is something that Hervé and I are so looking forward to our future together with Angel Studios, what we're going to build, the kind of shows that we're going to make for families, and I'm so blessed to be part of this whole system with you guys. So thanks for the faith in us.
Oh, thank you so much. And also, thank you for setting an example for the rest of the industry. So we also, we agreed. We agreed on this fun AI tool where you can talk to the benefactor.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so Neil gave his permission to use AI technology to recreate his voice, so you guys could all have fun with it right now. So, and
I will tell you this.
Go ahead.
I played it for my daughter. I played it for my daughters yesterday, and it creeped them out so much. They're like, "Dad, that's so realistic." And it was just fun to hear their dad as the benefactor over and over and over again. It was we had quite a lot of fun.
It is super fun. It's fun to see the kind of responses that it comes up with. Like your imagination is the limit. But Brock has gone. Brock has gone, and he's created this world, and we've tried to feed some of the rules of the world to the AI so that it would behave as we'd expect. Now, this isn't real, and it's obviously not McDonough's voice, but this is going to be really fun to help spread the word about the shift.
There's the genius. Hi, Brock.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
So while, for those of you who don't know, Hollywood just fought an 8-month battle over artificial intelligence between the guilds and the Actors Guild and the Writing Guild. And in 8 days, Neil McDonough and Angel Studios just decided to agree on something and not fight about it. And so we can just keep doing work. And so he's up working in British Columbia, and we're working here, and we're launching this movie, and we're super excited about it. So thank you, Neil, for believing in us.
Of course. It's a home that I've always dreamt of. It's the kind of place where, the kind of movies and TV series that we're making and want to keep on making. Obviously, we like to make them have glory, give glory to God. So we're at home at Angel Studios. We couldn't be happier. And thanks, guys, for, again, having faith in Hervé and I to keep bringing you guys content. And for everyone out there, for everyone at Angel Studios for supporting what an incredible system it is. This is going to be a lot of fun for years to come.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me mentioning, Neil, when we were at the premiere, now a lot of you got to tune in for the premiere because we live streamed right after the credits last Wednesday for the Angel Guild. but there was a part of it right before the film that you missed, and I wish you could have been there for it. But Neil cheered the audience on, he cheered the Angels Guild on, and then he prayed for everyone. And I'm sure many of you who believe in prayer would love to pray for this film and love to hear Neil McDonough pray for this film. You know, we didn't broadcast that. Prayer's a you know, not necessarily something you want to broadcast, but for those of you who believe, just know how much his heart is in this, how much he believes in all of you. If you go and watch some of the interviews that he's done, he's been just cheering on the Angel Guild everywhere that he goes, because he sees, in fact, when we first met on set, the very first day of filming at the Shift, he came up to me and he said, "We have been talking about crowdfunding our content so that the big studios don't get to put their fingers in the creative and decide what stories we get to tell, how we tell them. And here we are making this together. I'm so interested in what you guys are doing." And we just hit it off, and we talked in between every single cut about the future together. So
Oh, it was great. It really was. It felt like it was just yesterday too. And I love what Angel stands for. You know, I think people know what I stand for. And look, as I've said in the last couple of weeks, if everyone out there votes for what Angel's doing, whether it's the Shift or whether it's any project that you really like that's on their platform, by going to the theaters and supporting it does tell a message to Hollywood. We need more fair the way that we want to see it done. And not just at Angel Studios. Hopefully it'll permeate throughout the whole Hollywood culture to make family films and family television series, because I think it's the right thing to do. But for us right now, I couldn't be happier to be here. Vik couldn't be happier to be here. And I got to do a beautiful film with Brock, and how proud we all are of the Shift and what Brock came together with in his brain and making it come to fruition. It was just an incredible experience for me. So thank you, Brock.
Yeah, no, thank you, Neil. I hope you've seen all of the kudos that have been going around for your performance.
You know, I don't read reviews. That's really not going tremendous. To happen.
I know. Okay, well, I knew that, but I was kind of hoping. But anyway, I'll tell you, it's been a tremendous response. I mean, not only to the film, but people are giving you your accolades, and I'll communicate it to you, since you won't read it. They're out there, and there's a lot of them.
Thank you.
And awesome. To your point, Neil, like if some of the big studios start deciding to copy what we're doing, we welcome you. We welcome you. Yes, give Neil another place to make great films as well. We welcome it.
That's right.
And I think the entire Angel Guild would love it if the outcome of what we're doing here is that we move media culture
That's right.
this direction.
That's exactly right. Well put. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. We better let you go. We better let you go.
All right.
So you can get back to filming.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me on this, and God bless everything that you guys are doing at Angel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
The man himself.
Yes, the man himself. Right while he's on set. All right, so let's get that screen back up and see if Brock's got any other questions for the AI version of Neil McDonough, the Benefactor.
Oh gosh. Well, I want to know what happens when we tell him no. He doesn't like that so much.
All right.
So
how should I tell him?
Let's see. How should we tell him no? How about no, I do not think we want your offer. Go away. I don't know. I'm not being very imaginative right now. I write. I don't.
You write better not on a live stream. Go away.
Yes, I write better without pressure like this.
But Brock, don't you see? By saying no, you're settling for a mediocre life. You'll never know the thrill of power, the rush of seizing what you want with your own hands. Don't let fear and doubt hold you back. Embrace the chaos and become something greater than you ever thought possible. The choice is yours, but I hope you'll make the right one.
Oh, okay.
Well, see, he wants you to make the right choice. That's a positive thing. Now, as I understand it, people have to keep, I mean, we're not going to do it here, but people have to keep going with this and essentially defeat him, right? And then you get then you get the
Yes.
prize at the end. So
Currently,
you've got to
there's-
fight. You've got to fight the benefactor here.
That's right. And you'll have clues in the shift as to how to beat him. So if you can't figure it
Right.
out, you go watch the movie and you'll know how to beat him. And just use some of the hints that you get in the movie and you'll be able to beat him. And we've got some fun surprises in this experience, in this game. So have fun with it. It's available at thedevil.ai. And you'll get an AI version of the Benefactor. So hope you enjoy that. A lot of fun. Please share it with people. Help creep them out just so that they become interested in the show. We're hoping that this becomes a way for people to talk about this film and bring it to the forefront because it's really important. It's really important that this film reaches more people because the initial reactions that we're going to go through some of these reviews. You guys will see how important it is that people get into the seats to see this film. So let's take a look at a few reviews next. Can you pull those reviews up for us, Micah? Wow. So that last one said, we saw it for the 4th time. Excellent movie, superb acting. We saw it for the 4th time today. Each time we see something new. Excellent movie. It's Carol. Thank you.
4th time. So that, believe it or not, that is not the record. I've actually heard from somebody who's now seen it 5 times.
Is it your mother, Brock? Is it your mother?
It's not my mother. I promise you. She's only seen it once to my knowledge. This is not someone I know in real life. No, but it's I'm hearing it constantly, and I'm seeing it constantly in the comments on our posts and on our ads. People are watching this movie more than once. It seems to have a high rewatch value. And the thing I hear the most often is that it's on the second viewing that people are really taking it in and enjoying it so much more even than their first one. They're enjoying it enough to watch it a second time, but then when they do, it's like a whole new experience. And I'll tell you, that's something you hope for, but it's not something I expected. It's really fantastic to hear how much people are just telling their friends, bringing their grandmas, bringing their moms, and watching it all over again.
That makes me really happy because I'm biased because I'm a founder of the studio that got behind you. So I have confirmation bias. Like I want this to succeed. And I noticed as I've watched The Shift over and over again that I've become more endeared to it. And I've seen a new layer every single time. And that's been really fun for me. And to see that that's happening for others that don't have confirmation bias, this is exciting.
Yeah, that really is.
Do we have any other?
And we're going to talk about some of those layers a little bit tonight.
Yeah, that's
We'll get into that a bit.
Okay, saw it yesterday. Very intense. I know I've missed layers of messaging. I think I need to see it again.
Well, there you go.
Yes,
there
you
go.
do. Yes, you do. Okay. All right. Well, to your point, why did you put so much depth and meaning into The Shift, Brock?
Well, I think we're dealing with some pretty big stuff with The Shift. We're dealing with some of the bigger questions that we have, not only about this life, but the life to come, about how God deals with us, about how there is an opposition. These are not small topics. And so, I didn't make The Shift just to be an entertainment. Obviously, that's the number one job. I firmly believe that. The number one job I have as a filmmaker is to entertain. If I'm not doing at least that much, then none of the rest of it is going to matter. But if I'm going to tell the stories that mean the most to me, then those are going to be the stories that are tackling some really important and broader issues and that are doing in such a way that they give it. I want the stories that I tell to have the proper gravity. And I think there's a seriousness with which, at least I tried to approach the construction of the world and the construction of the story so that as people do see it more and more, that it's a rewarding experience, that there is more to uncover. And that as they uncover that will, kind of inform their understanding of the film and their understanding of these issues. And you can go deeper and deeper and deeper with it. I mean, that's the kind of movie that I enjoy. And I just feel like that's the weight that this topic and this type of story deserves.
David Helling came to the premiere of The Shift, and we had sent him a screener beforehand. and
Hmm.
I don't know if he told you that, but he didn't. He didn't really
He
want to
did.
say that he. Okay, all right, he told you. So I'm
He
not
talked to me.
breaking
He
the
talked to
news.
me afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
No, he pulled me aside and he was like, "Man, I gotta talk to you about this." Yeah,
So do we have David Helling's quote? If we do, put it on the screen. But
we do.
he's the director of his only son, and
Oh, we just
he
missed it.
he is meticulous with detail, and he's a great filmmaker. For those of you who watched his only son, you know that. He says, "I saw it twice, and the second time I saw it, it felt like I was watching it for the first time." So
Yeah.
that speaks to
Yeah.
what you were just describing, and it's from somebody who is an
Mhm.
excellent filmmaker. So
Yeah.
let's start going
No,
through some of
David's a
these.
smart guy.
Yeah, let's go start going through some of these hidden details. Now,
Yeah.
this is a spoiler alert, so we're going to get into stuff now where if you haven't seen this film, go to angel.com/the shift and get tickets, or go to thedevil.ai and find your discount code in order to get tickets. And get them now. You don't want to keep watching if you don't want any spoilers. So we're going to now cover the depth within the shift, and the only way we can do that is revealing some spoilers. So just
Yeah.
be forewarned. Now, one of the things that I noticed in this film
Hmm.
was and we've noticed some comments about it, but when Kevin approaches the benefactor later on in the world, and he's got a gun,
Hmm.
he goes and then he goes to try to get to the benefactor, and he suddenly ends up in his apartment, and then he comes back,
Right.
and he's going back and forth, and he notices this crack in the glass. Tell us about this crack in the glass. Does that
Yeah.
mean
So
anything? Because I think people have noticed this crack more than once.
No, I hope they did because it's completely a visual effect. That crack was not in that window. We took the time to add it in for something for people to notice, and most don't, and that's okay because these details, they're important. They even if you don't, and I want to say this about everything we're going to talk about tonight. None of these are things that you need to understand in order to enjoy the movie or to even understand the movie. You don't like these are extras. A lot of this is just extra stuff that just kind of enriches the experience. And if you notice it, awesome. And if you don't, well, those of you watching tonight, you're never not going to notice it after I tell you these things. But it will. So you have one up on everybody you bring the movie to. Like you'll be able to act real smart and say, "Oh yeah, I know. Did you notice that?" And I give you full permission to not give me any credit. You can just pretend that this is you and you figured it out. So that's just fine with me. But yeah, so the cracks is a really interesting detail. It's that crack is not by accident. We did put it there intentionally. There, you can see it on the screen right there. That is a visual effect. We did not break that glass. And the cracks is an idea. This crack and cracks in general are embedded throughout the film in ways that you may not even realize. And it starts with the logo. Look at the logo. The logo for the shift has cracks running all the way through it. And that wasn't just a stylistic choice. That was something that was intentionally put there. And the idea is that every time a shift happens, there's a crack in the world. And you can hear it. And sometimes on screen, you can even see it. And you hear it, I think, most prominently in the very first shift that happens during the prologue of the film, when Kevin is walking the road and then he shifts away and you hear like the sound of trees cracking. And that's your first audio clue. But there's several other cracks that appear throughout the film at different times. For example, there is a crack that appears in the benefactor's milk glass. It's very hard to see, but it is there. There's a crack that appears after Tina shifts away in the diner. There is also there's a crack underneath Tina in the finale, in the big climax, the big final confrontation. Tina is actually sitting on a crack. You can see it right there. We built that into the floor. And it's one of those things that you will never see unless you're looking for it. But again, attention to detail. The devil is in the details, as they say, and that's very appropriate for this film. And then, of course, there's the asylum. The asylum there's cracks literally everywhere. in the whole place. There's just millions of cracks, and what that means, and whether that means that everybody who's in that asylum was shifted in from other realities. I mean, the possibilities there I think, are really cool to think about. But I think my favorite crack is probably the most subtle one, and it's the one that is on Molly's teacup. So when we see Molly and Kevin married and not talking to each other, and Molly's pouring the tea, there is a crack running down that teacup. Now, interestingly enough, we tried to do that crack in real life, and it did not work. Every time we tried to do it, the teacup just broke. So again, that is actually a visual digital effect. And that is supposed to be an indicator that this Molly who's pouring this tea is not the Molly that we've been following the entire movie. This is a different Molly. And the benefactor talks about that a little bit later in the diner when he says, no, I shifted her after you gave her that, he calls it, ridiculous pendant. And so that's your clue that the Molly that he's talking with on the phone in his car and that is pouring that tea is not actually his original Molly.
Wow.
So there's cracks and stuff, and you can find them if you look closely. But that's a few.
Yes. So now you've got your work cut out for you to find these cracks. We have a comment online that's responding to your answer, Brock. Let's pull that comment up.
Oh, what are they saying?
Alice Fulmer says, I absolutely love this movie and the message it sends. Thank you. I have struggled a lot since my husband and son passed, and this movie gave me so much comfort and strength. Oh, it wasn't directly addressing the crack, but
that's way better.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, Alice, I'm very sorry for your loss, obviously, but I'm so happy to hear that this movie could give you some small comfort. That's incredible.
There's
and why we made
a team member here at Angel, Brock, who, after watching this film the second time, wrote a long, almost essay on how he felt like this film is about grief and coping with grief. So that's interesting to get that comment from Alice Fulmer. Thank you, Alice.
Yeah, that's a great read on it.
So another thing that's been asked about is the benefactor's food order.
Right.
Right.
It's like the weirdest food order of all time, isn't it? Like steak, eggs, and a tall glass of milk. Who eats that? What monster eats those things in combination? No, that's one I've gotten a lot. It's one of the more frequent questions, which is like, why in the world would he order that?
Why is that his go-to?
Yeah, why is that his go-to? Yeah, that's the thing. He orders it every time. He's like, I'll have the usual. It's like, that's your usual? My friend, what are you doing? But no, it's not without purpose. And look, this may get into like super pretentious territory. This is one of those things that probably amuses me more than it should. But I think of it like this: the meat is death. Meat is a dead animal. The meat represents death. Eggs, the beginning of life. Eggs represents life. These are the two things the devil wants control over and will never have. And the milk is purity and innocence, which is what he seeks to take away from Kevin. So that's what that means. Steak, eggs, and a tall glass of milk. It's death, it's life, and it's purity and innocence. And actually, we took this a little bit further in a cut of the film that no one has seen yet, but maybe one day we'll release an extended cut. But in the extended cut of this film, the benefactor actually does drink the milk. And we see him drink the milk at a very particular moment, which I think kind of communicates more fully this idea that he's trying to rob Kevin of whatever purity and innocence he might have and take the goodness right out of him. So.
And if to that little hint there, we did tell Brock that if this film succeeds on a big level, that could fund the full cut that he would love to see. Now, he chose the cut that we have based off of feedback from the Guild.
Cut is yes.
Yes,
it
was all Brock's doing.
What you're seeing in theaters is it's a fantastic version of the movie. But I would love to create the doppelganger cut, yes. not the director's cut, but the doppelganger cut. Another take.
Yes, I've actually heard some comments of people who want to delve more into the story, and I've seen other footage, and they want to delve more into the world, and that footage is available. So it'd be exciting to reach the levels we need to in the box office to be able to fund that. So let's get to 50 million, folks. All right. So
it's like we got a question here.
Yeah, what's the question? Will the necklace in the movie be available to purchase? It's a great question.
Will it be?
Go to angel.com/he lives. Angel.com/he lives. It is available now. And in fact, this inspired pendant that's a central component of this film has already sold over $2 million of the pendant, and this film just barely is releasing. So thank you for that question.
Wow.
So what is it with the color green, Brock?
The color green.
Yeah.
The color green is it's an important color in the shift. And it's another one of those details that you might not notice because the color green does not appear that often in this film. And that is entirely by design. The color green represents life. I mean, that's easy enough to say. But in this film, there's one character who wears green all the time, except for when she is sad and going through great difficulty. And that's Molly. Molly first shows up in this beautiful green dress, and we see her wearing green throughout the film. It really is a signature color. And of course, it really helps that Elizabeth Tavish looks so fantastic in green. I don't know if that's her color. I don't know if that's something she favors, but I think she looks great in it.
Stunning.
Yeah, she's incredibly stunning. And I'll tell you, the one bad thing about that dress she's wearing right there is that you never get to see her standing up and wearing it. And it was just a gorgeous dress on set, and she looked fantastic in it. But Molly, her color really is green. And Kevin, once he is separated from her and he's in what we kind of internally call the dark world, even though the movie never really gives a name to it. Once Kevin is in the dark world, he wears green. And we never see him wear green otherwise. He's always wearing this green coat. And what's interesting about that is that Kevin is the only person in the dark world who wears green. So that was a design choice that we made to really not only make Kevin kind of stand out from everybody else, but to also just indicate that always, always, always Molly is on his mind. Although there is one other character in the dark world who wears green, just a splash of it. And that's Tina. Tina's name tag, if you look very, very closely, you'll realize that her name tag is green. And as we know from the movie, Molly and Tina do have a link, and they become two sides of the same coin for Kevin at the end of the film when he's making his big choice. And so the green name tag links Tina to Molly.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and see it again, Brock, because I wasn't aware of some of this, and I've seen this thing I think 4 or 5 times. So
well, again, like none of this is important, but it's just cool, and if you see it, then I think it becomes meaningful, and if you don't, then you're fine. Like this is not so deep that you need to know any of this stuff. Just hopefully it's something you can go to your friends and brag about.
I tell people that are going for the first time, please just let yourself enjoy the story. Don't get caught up on trying to keep up with the details and the shifting and the worlds. Just enjoy the story. That's what I've been telling people, because there are the people who just enjoy the story and come out loving this film, and then they capture the layers when they go back a second time. And then there are the people who are so focused on understanding on the very first viewing that it becomes a frustrating experience for them, and they have to go back to enjoy it. So you know, on the first time would be nice, but. So I've heard some comments about Kevin's wounds. And are there any insights in his wounds?
Yeah, so Kevin is not in a good shape the entire movie. We see him with wounds. You know, we have this 5-year jump, and we see him take a shower, and in that shower we can see this guy's beat up, and we don't really know where those wounds came from. Obviously, they're not the wounds that he received when he got in the car wreck. And in fact, we see that he has a wound on his head, but it's on the other side, which is a sign that, hey, these are not the same wounds. So he's been beat up. He's been, whatever he's gone through in those 5 years, it's led to this general shape of his body. And he's sick too. He's very, very sick. He's coughing all the time. And so, and part of that is the Job connection. Job was somebody who was sick physically, And so we represented that without going real deep on it. There is also a deleted scene in which he goes to the doctor, and we see him do that, but that's not in the movie, and likely won't make the extended cut either. Although maybe it will. Who the heck knows? I haven't done it yet. But there are wounds though that he receives in the movie that we do actually see him receive, and of course those are bullet wounds. And he gets shot twice in this movie, and the first time is on his arm, and the second time is on his hand. And those are not accidental. The wound on his hand, on his arm, is a reminder of his weakness, and that his strength, is not in the arm of his own flesh, which is a biblical reference. His strength is not in his arm. And then, of course, the wound in his hand is a reminder of what Christ suffered on the cross, a reminder to him. So first he's shot in his arm to remind him that his own strength is nothing. And then he shot it in the hand to remind him that the strength that he should be looking towards is the strength of Christ and what he did for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Boy, Brock, there's so many layers. Mary asks, Mary, who's a guild member, thank you for being a guild member, Mary. Brock, which scene is your favorite and which was the hardest to shoot? So I guess that's two questions.
Oh, that is two questions. My favorite scene to shoot, I loved shooting, we're in spoiler territory, so I can say this. I loved shooting the stuff with Sean Astin as Gabriel running through the hallway and just running over and over and over again, because we had to capture all these different Seans in order to capture all these different Gabriels. And that was so much fun because Sean was so up for it and was such a trooper that night. And just running down that hallway over and over and over again and through that room. And it was great. That was great fun. And the hardest scene to shoot was 100% the final confrontation, when we're there in the Vik Viewer auditorium and we've got Tina and we've got the Benefactor and Russo and Gabriel and Kevin. And this was the biggest group of our main actors that we had at one time. And it's a very long scene, and there's a lot of different points of view and different points of action. And we had, there was the one day that I actually had to rewrite the script, like right there on the day, because a line was just not working. And so I found a little corner and I just rewrote this line on the spot. And now it's one of those lines that people actually quote back to me a lot, and is very meaningful to them. So glad that we did that and took the time to do that. That was actually Chris Palaha who came up to me and he said, I don't think this line works. And he was 100% right. And the rewrite is just right.
And if you're joining us,
just wrestling all those actors.
If you're joining us right now, just a reminder, we are in spoiler territory on this live stream. The beginning of the live stream, no spoilers. Yeah. At this point, it's all spoilers. So go to angel.com/theshift to get tickets. Go watch the movie. If you're just jumping into the live stream, you don't want to be part of this part until you get to see the film. So
go watch the movie first, then come back and watch this.
Yes. Did you have another comment there for our...
No, that was it. You cut me off at the right time.
Okay, great. So speaking of the hardest scene to shoot and that Vik Viewer theater, boy, that theater was pretty. Mm-hmm. Like the setting for that, it was like, I don't even know how to describe it, how it felt to go into that experience. So what about Kevin seeing Molly in the Vik Viewer theater? Like is that a plot? Like, they're not supposed to,
like, how did that happen?
Yeah. How did that happen?
Yeah. How did that happen? And so this is one of those moments that I'm always the most reluctant to reveal, because I like the discussion that happens. And I really hope in talking about all this tonight that we don't defeat discussion, that well, now the movie's out there, your interpretation is as valid as mine. I really kind of believe that. And so I can only offer my perspective and as far as what I intended. But certainly there's a lot of things even that I'm not talking about tonight that I could mention, and things that probably are in the movie that I haven't even thought of. Somebody hit me with one of those the other day. I was like, wow, I didn't even intend that, but that's perfect. That symbolism is absolutely there. But the Vik Views, I think the big question with the Vik Views is who's responsible for them? Who's responsible for the Vik Views? Where do they come from? And the fact is that in the movie, it's answered in the film. The Benefactor takes credit for it. He says at the very end of the movie, "I show you such delightful violence. I give you away back to Molly." He is taking credit in that moment for essentially everything we've seen in the film, in the second act in particular. And there are clues to this in the film visually. The biggest clue that all of the views are orchestrated by the benefactor, even the ones with Molly. Kevin says to Russo, this was a miracle. Is Kevin correct? According to the benefactor, no. This was not a miracle. This was all orchestrated to get him into a certain place at a certain time to do a certain thing. But the biggest clue is that if you look at the Vik Views and you look carefully, the angle from which we are shooting the Vik Views, and this is not an accident, all of the Vik Views are shot from a very, very low angle. Where possible, we put the camera right on the floor, and you can see that right here in this screenshot. The camera is on the floor and looking up at Molly and her friends, and we can see the ceiling and all of that. We pretty much never shoot anything else in the movie from this angle. The rest of the movie is almost never shot from this angle. And it is actually a very tricky angle to handle and to capture. It makes it harder. So this was something we did with great intention. Every single Vik View was shot this way. And the reason for that is because who sees things from this angle? Who sees things from a very low angle? This is essentially a hell's eye view of the world, or the view of a serpent. That's what we get with the low angle. And so that's your big visual clue that all of these are not coming from anybody but the benefactor. If they were coming from somewhere else, then we'd probably shoot them at a high angle and be looking down on Kevin, a heaven's eye view, but that's not what we did.
That is so fascinating, Brock. Thanks for sharing that with us. Okay. Do we have any other questions right now that I should go over, or should we move on to? Yes, Sue says, how is your personal life like? How is your personal life like what happened in the movie? Oh, this is Brock for you. How is your personal life similar to what happened in the movie?
Well, I have been to many alternate realities. I thankfully have made it back home. No, I'm kidding. No. Yeah. So safe to say that I've drawn a bit from my own personal life in the crafting of this story. And the most significant thing for me, the most significant thing that I think the shift is trying to say, and I would argue that it's trying to say several different things, but I think the most significant thing it's saying is that there is a purpose to our suffering. There's a purpose to the darkness that enters into our lives. And that purpose is so that we can see God more clearly. And that's happened several times in my life. I've had my own Job-like experiences, but probably the first and most significant, and those that have read the book I wrote on the subject, and those who have been following along with the shift for a while, this story is going to be very, very familiar. So I'll tell it very, very quickly. But years ago, when I was 12, my father was the victim of an armed robbery. He was shot 13 times and he lived. And when you're 12 and this happens, this is just about the coolest thing ever. And you just think, well, of course he lived. He's my dad. He's tough. I've since come to find out that usually when people get shot 13 times, they don't so much live. And so it was a real miracle that he lived through this. And I got to see my father in the years after that not become bitter, not ask God, why is this happening, become bitter towards God. And I saw him not be angry at the men who shot him. I really saw him conduct his life from there on with an attitude of forgiveness. And it's not like his life was easy. I mean, you can imagine the physical complications that could come from being shot that many times. But then 8 years later, it happened again. He was the victim of a second armed robbery, and this time he was killed. Now, when that one happened, I was a young man. I was 19 years old. And I had a much better understanding of the gravity of the situation. And so that was one of the darkest nights of my life. And it was very, very difficult. And, there's a lot of feelings that rush in at that moment. And of course, one of the most understandable feelings was anger. 2 men had come into his store and killed him. It wasn't an accident. It was something that they intended to do. They meant him harm and they accomplished their goal. And they took him away from us. And that resulted in a strong flash of anger in me. But as soon as that anger came, it almost immediately left. It was just gone, because I got a glimpse into something that I think very few people get a chance to see. And that was the love that God has for the men who killed my father. I realized that what they had done that night to him was not as bad as what they had done to themselves. And what I mean by that is that my father was killed, his physical body was killed, but these men had done something far worse. They had injured their souls. They had committed a sin, the worst sin that a person can possibly commit. And I've committed sin. I have done things that I deeply regret and that have affected me greatly. I have never killed anybody. I've never done that. And so I can't even imagine the pain that would result from the realization of the guilt of that sin. And whether they are going to experience that in this life or the next, I believe that they will come to a reckoning and they will come to an understanding of what they've done. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And so I immediately had this, as soon as that anger left, it was this feeling of empathy. It was this feeling of love. It was this understanding that these are children of God too. And they didn't grow up wanting to do this and wanting to kill people. At some point, things went wrong for them. And I don't know how, and I don't know when. But I can certainly understand regret. I can certainly understand that my Father in heaven and my Savior, He loves them. They love Him too. Them too. Getting my pronouns mixed up. But anyway, all of that is to say that I got a glimpse into the love that God has for us. I saw God's light in a way I never had ever seen before. I experienced that light, but that came on the back of the darkest moment of my life. How can I experience such darkness and such light in the span of a few minutes? And this is the lesson of Job. And I think this is what the shift is trying to say, is that these things go hand in hand. Suffering and the darkness of this world is not without purpose. It is so that we can see and behold God and His light more fully. And having experienced that, we can experience happiness more fully, because I can tell you right now, I have been a much happier, different person because of that experience than I would have been. That was a lot longer than anticipated. Sorry about that. But that's my heart. That's my experience. That's where the shift comes from.
I've read your book and know your story, but just remembering that connection between this film and your life, it touched me again, Brock. And boy, this film is an 8-year project. And for those who have been following Brock on this journey, this film is a lot more beautiful because of the journey. To get this moment is a beautiful moment because the film has been through a difficult, dreary path to get to where we are. So, all right. So let's, Michael says, what is the significance of the cat?
The significance of the cat. I want to know what Michael thinks is the significance of the cat. I had somebody ask me this question a little bit ago. They asked me on Facebook, and they were like, I think the cat is, the cat came in and it made me think of God and how God, comes into our life. And it seemed like God was coming in and bringing the cat back. Like, what's the deal with the cat? And I responded, I think you just got it. Like, I think you understood just fine. You don't need to ask me.
Yeah.
And that really is the cat. And if you really think about it, you think about this film, there's actually very few miracles in this film. I believe the devil screams and God whispers, and the cat is a whisper. The cat coming back is the sign to Kevin that God actually is here. And that's why he's able to give that beautiful speech right afterwards, which Chris Polahoff performed so wonderfully. Because in that moment, Kevin recognizes, oh, God sees Russo and God sees me, and I understand what's going on here. And the benefactor and Gabriel, you can see it on their faces. They have no idea what's just happened. They have nothing to do with this cat coming back. It's the most bizarre thing to them. But Kevin understands perfectly that this is God blessing his friend. And by blessing his friend, he understands that, oh, God is still here. He hasn't abandoned me. And so that's what I mean by God as a whisper. A cat coming back is such a simple thing. It's really small. And I think that is God, how he usually communicates. I mean, he tells us that's how he communicates with us. He's not going to, sometimes, he'll kick up the wind and he'll do other things. But for the most part, he's a still small voice. And the cat was just my way to get to that.
And one of the times that I hear first-time audiences chuckle in this film because it's such an intense film the first time through. There you can almost count on one hand the times where people they chuckle, but it's when they look at when the benefactor looks at Gabriel because the benefactor's confused about the cat and Gabriel's like,
Right.
anyway.
I don't know. Yeah. Sean's look is so fantastic in that moment.
It's so great. He's such a great. Now, for the twist that you did with his character, Brock, like it threw all of us off, right? This is Samwise Gamgee.
People are mad at me.
How did you do that to us?
They do not want Sean to be bad. They don't abide that.
So,
Sean had so much fun.
Any thoughts on why you picked that, or on that twist? Any thoughts you'd like to share with our audience tonight?
Yeah, well, in the book of Job, he does have these friends that are talking to him and kind of like, hey, man, maybe you're a screw up, and maybe that's why God is hurting you. And Gabriel's kind of that voice. And that's the number one clue that everybody misses, that, hey, maybe Gabriel's not that great. Gabriel's basically doing two things. He's trying to gain Kevin's confidence, and he's trying to poke holes in his faith. And everything he says is either for that goal or for the other. And so in a lot of ways, Gabriel is the most honest character in the film. He's constantly telling Kevin pretty much who he is, and Kevin is not picking it up, and the audience doesn't pick it up. And of course, the other big clue with Gabriel, and a lot of people have noted, and a lot of people have asked me, why in the world is Sean Astin always eating? Like this whole world, everybody's starving, doesn't have food, but Sean's always got a sandwich or a taco. I mean, there's a 41-second scene in the film where he's literally just eating a taco as he's walking across the street. And of course, I say, that's the point. In a world that is starving, be suspicious of the man who always has food. That was another big clue, that Gabriel is not all that he seems. He's essentially playing a role the entire film. And the other big visual clue of that, of course, is at the very end when we see Gabriel in the Vik Viewer in the final confrontation, and he's wearing a very cool leather jacket and looking a little bit more dapper. Gabriel is a person with means, and he's only pretending that he doesn't have them. As a shifter, he has whatever he wants, really. And so Gabriel, I hate to say it, I love Sean Astin as much as the next guy, probably more than you even. But Gabriel is not necessarily Kevin's friend.
Well, you threw us off by casting Sean Astin. That's what it comes down to. Everyone's blind to what's happening because it's Sean. So we got time for a couple more thoughts here, but we'll be brief with them. So Daniel's disappearance. I mean, we do catch that his son's named Daniel. Tell us about the significance of including that part of the story.
Yeah, so this is kind of the toughest part of the film for some people, is the fact that the son disappears and he never comes back. And I know a lot of people wanted him to come back. Crud, I want him to come back too. But part of the idea of the shift is that things happen to us and we have to move on from them. We can't double back. Christ definitely is a healer. But in this life, we don't just get everything back to the way that it was because we want it that way. And so Daniel disappearing is a really key moment. It's a really key piece of the puzzle. It's how you can unlock what the shift is really about and what it's really saying. And of course, the big question is, if Daniel did disappear, then what happened to him and where did he go? And we get that answer in the film. We get it in such a way that most people, I think, pick up on it pretty quickly, but there are a few people who do get left behind on that. So I'll state it here for the record. What happens to Daniel, and the benefactor is really the one that tells us. He says, I'm sorry, Kevin, but where your son went, I can't just shift him back. And that is where in the world could anybody go that the devil couldn't touch them? And there's only one place where you can go where that's true, and that's heaven.
He was simultaneously, I loved how he was simultaneously testifying of Christ by saying that. But I mean, he didn't realize it when he said it, but then Kevin realized it.
Kevin realized it. And Kevin's response is very telling. No, you can't. And then the benefactor gets very angry at that because he's essentially being told, there is somebody more powerful than you. Yeah, yep. You can't do that.
Right.
And so it's this really lovely, somewhat subtle moment, but it's when Kevin realizes and truly lets go and realizes that his son is in fact gone and has passed away. It's a heavy moment.
So let's talk about the healing of Kevin.
Yeah. So Kevin does healing is a feature in this film, and it's actually a feature twice. The most obvious time that we see Kevin healed is at the very end, when the benefactor pulls a gun on him, and then in a flash of white, Kevin is just removed from the situation. And when he wakes up, he's in a bathroom, and he looks in the mirror, and he can see that his wound on his hand is gone, the wound on his head is gone. He takes a deep breath because finally he can breathe. He's not coughing anymore. He's been coughing the entire movie,
His wedding ring's gone.
and he's healed. And the wedding ring is also gone, which is not a healing, but a sign of something else.
Yep.
And Kevin is healed. He's fully healed from all of his injuries. And of course, there's only one person who can do that in that way, and that's God. And so that's a sign that God has stepped in and taking care of Kevin. There is one other time in the film when a little bit of healing happens, and that's when Kevin is shifted into the asylum. He's shifted into a closet, and he finds a first aid kit, and he uses that first aid kit to bandage his hand up. And that is actually intended. Again, these are not things you have to understand. It's fine if you don't get it, because they're not important to understanding the film. But tell your friends, brag. Don't tell them I told you. Just use it as your own brag. That is a sign that Kevin shifting into the asylum is God kind of stepping in a little bit, because he's put right into a medical closet where he has a first aid kit. Like, either that's a terrific coincidence or somebody did that and gave him a little bit of help there. And the answer, of course, is that somebody did give him a little bit of help there. And significantly, it's in the asylum that he meets back up with Tina. Now, before he meets back up with Tina, Gabriel, and I think it's Gabriel's last line in the movie. It is Gabriel's last line in the movie. He says to Kevin, because Kevin sees Gabriel pulls a gun on him. Gabriel's fully a bad guy at this point, and Gabriel's last line in the film is, "You're not supposed to be here." And he's telling the truth. Kevin is not supposed to be there. Whatever plan the benefactor has, it was not to come to that asylum and reunite with Tina, thus compromising the choice that Kevin makes at the end, when he has a full understanding of exactly what he's put Tina through. And he's able to, in the asylum, he's able to have that experience with Tina where he's able to essentially apologize and express the regret he has for what he's done to her. It's a very important thing for him to be able to do. And that is not something none of that is an experience that the benefactor would want Kevin to have. That's God putting Kevin in a place so that he will have the understanding he needs when it comes to the point of making the choice that he's going to have to make.
Wow. Yeah, that's really good, Brock. So that God basically gave him, I think often that we're not going to be tried beyond what we're able to bear. And so we just get enough breadcrumbs or enough hope that, obviously the choices are ours, but then he gives us the tools that we need to make the right choice if we so select. So these are some great insights. I'm going back. And I hope all of you will too. Angel.com/theshift. Also, to look for clues or hints on interacting with the benefactor on the devil.ai, and have fun with that. And I think we'll close tonight now, Brock. We appreciate everyone being here. And this film, if we can make it through the holidays and hold the film through the holidays, then this film can run for a long time. So it needs your support. We need you to get the word out on this film as fast as you can. We've already seen good signs this morning, like our Monday sales. Like the weekend is, we did 4.3 million over the weekend, which is the smallest opening weekend for an Angel release to date. But the numbers of people who are coming back and how the numbers are actually holding, they are reminding us of Sound of Freedom. So there's really good signs in the numbers, but it's going to take everything we've got. And that's what it took on Sound of Freedom to get the message out, is it took the audience helping carry the message along. Like, Brock's done his work. Angel, we're doing everything we can. We've just launched an AI to help create a reason to talk about this film. We're doing everything we can, but you know what? A lot's going to rely on all of you, and then also a little bit of help, a little bit of divine help to get this message to the people who need to see it. Yeah. And I know that there are people who need to see it. We had a team member who was going through a very tough time, and he said after he watched the early cut of The Shift that it turned his life around, like his thinking. He was in a rut. And we've got 2 reactions that we're going to close on, Micah tells us. So again, thank you, Brock. We're going to close with 2 reactions to The Shift. And thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
It was intense and heavy. It felt like it was written to help explain that even though this world often feels very dark, God is still with us. Thank you, Jade.
Jade got it. Thank you for that, Jade.
I'll let you close us out here, Brock.
All right. After you see it the first time, go back and see it again. Seriously, it's even better the second time. You will pick up on a lot of things you missed the first time. I love that. And that's what we've been talking about tonight. Now, if you go see it again, you're not going to be able to unsee a lot of what we talked about tonight. But trust me, there's a lot more we could have talked about. There's a lot more to discover in the film. And you know, I love that Kelly went back. I've heard from so many people who've gone back. I think we talked about this earlier. The record I've heard is 5 times. This movie has a rewatch value, and we definitely, you know, on our team as filmmakers, we tried to make this a richly rewarding experience and something that people do want to revisit. I think a lot of what we talked about tonight, I think a lot of these are what they really uncover more than anything, I think, is the allegory that's going on in The Shift. I really see The Shift, as I see the story of Job, as just trying to help come to terms with what is this life? What is this life that we're experiencing? Why is it the way that it is? Why do we have such difficulty? Why are things not just easy when we believe? Why do we have to go through trial? These are things that I've thought about a lot in my life. And this movie, you know, everything we've talked about tonight, it's really just about getting at that idea. And so I'm so glad that people are connecting with that aspect of the film, and they're finding comfort from it, because that was the whole point. That's the whole point of talking about it. Not to wallow in the darkness. That's not what it's for. We want to recognize the difficulty that people are going through and say there is hope. And those that connect with that film and connect with the film in that way, they're having a very powerful experience. So we just hope that experience can spread. We hope we can get as many people to come and enjoy this amplification of light that Angel is offering.
Thank you, Brock. And thank you all for being here tonight. We'll see you at the theater.
This is not my world. I've never been to this lake before. Never walked its shores. But I will find my way back. And I will find my way back to my Molly. 5 years ago, I was left in this dark place. Taken from my wife. The people here have no hope.
You're still looking for that wife of yours? You're clinging to scraps of rumors.
And then he arrived.
Where's my wife? I shifted her. For every choice you make, there are countless other realities where you make a different choice. You're talking about parallel Earths. Imagine having the power to move people from one reality to the next, to shift them. What do you want with me? I can make you a king. Imagine everything you have ever wanted. Work for me and get back with the woman that you love.
Okay, we go on a date and maybe we kiss.
Hopefully.
He's not gonna shift you back to your wife. It's a trick.
If I choose you, that's the last choice I'm ever gonna make.
I will never leave you alone. I've seen a bunch of people like us out there looking for a little hope. nothing that I won't do to you. You can't just shoot the devil.
There is so much evil and inhumanity in this world, but there is also beauty and hope, and I will find my way back to her.